Hey, so I am here today with my friend Sarah Gourley. Sarah and I went to college together at Penn State, and we were also in New Life together as students. We led a women's Bible study together for a year as well.
hmm
And now Sarah is not only a supporter of New Life, but also a really good friend of mine. And Sarah is a nurse actually in Rochester, New York. And so I thought it would be cool just to talk to her and hear about how her experience during this pandemic has been and where she's seen God at work during this time.
Yeah, so thanks for having me, Kayla. I'm excited to kind of share with you guys kind of just like the journey that God's been taking me on through the past couple months and how kind of crazy it's been. So I'll give a little background on like the unit I work on. I work on vascular surgery and step down from the surgical ICU unit. And so what that means is we get post-ops and pre-ops from surgery. We get them like a couple hours after surgery after they've recovered. But they're usually only with us for like a short amount of time unless there's complications. And then we also get step down patients from the surgical ICU. So we're used to working in the surgical realm. So surgery usually means that people are going to get better. They're going to progress. They're going to get out of the hospital. For the most part, they're going to get to go home. Things are exciting, you know. And so we usually don't have too many like long-term sick people. They usually come to us, and then we get to send them off, get to send them to rehab, and we know they're getting better. They're going back to life. And so when COVID all started happening, they quit doing surgeries in the hospital. So we quit having patients except for people that needed like emergent surgery. So that was like a big change, and we weren't really sure what was going to happen, where things were going to go. But our manager also manages the surgical ICU. And she said within the talks of the leadership of the hospital that they were looking at using our unit as a COVID unit, and that we were going to be converted to, we didn't know whether it was going to be the COVID unit or if we were just going to be one of the many. And so through those talks and kind of that change, we ended up becoming a medical unit, which is a very different realm from surgery. And
Yeah.
we ended up getting the long-term ventilated patients from 5400. 54 is like our medical step down from the medical ICU. So they're kind of like us as we are to the surgical ICU, but then they also have like all your long-term respiratory high need patients. So they have respiratory therapists on their floor, and they deal with a completely different population than what our nurses are used to dealing with. And so we all as a unit had to learn how to take care of patients on vents, how to work closely with respiratory therapy, how to assess these patients and understand what's going on, as well as learning how to take care of COVID patients, learning what the disease process looks like, learning all the PPE that we have to wear, and working with a whole different group of medical providers. So we got thrown from our comfortable little world into something that we had no idea how to take care of. Granted,
Yeah.
being a step down unit, we knew how to assess like the changing needs and take very good care of our patients that were critical, but we didn't necessarily know how to do the whole medical side of things and how sick these people are, and how long they're in the hospital. A lot of our patients that weren't COVID positive patients were like people that were long-term on vents, that were very uncomfortable ethical situations where the patient, we weren't sure how much they were there, if they were still there, but the family wasn't ready to say goodbye. And so there
Wow.
was a lot of tough situations that we had to walk through as a floor,
Wow.
taking
That's
care of these
crazy.
patients and learning that how to, especially me as a Christian, learning how to still have hope when you know that this person is suffering, that we
Yeah.
aren't helping the patient, that we are, what we feel as nursing is harming the patient.
Yeah.
And so as a unit, it's been a very tough transition. But we have a very good team. The reason I still work on the unit I do is because of my coworkers and my
Hmm.
management. We are a very good family. We support each other and we help each other through this stuff. And so it has been a very rough transition as a unit, but I
Yeah.
think seeing everybody rise above and stepping up to the challenge and having that support of our leadership and our management and of the medical unit teams and the doctors and the respiratory therapists, it's been really cool to see like the transition and the teamwork come together.
Yeah.
And I think that's been one of the more encouraging things, is like how we've stepped up to the plate and met
Yeah.
this challenge kind of head on.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's a lot. I mean, because what I'm hearing you say is during your transition, you had trained for one job, which you had been working at for a while, and then you essentially had to learn a whole new realm of
Mm-hmm.
patient care, and that on top of ethical dilemmas, learning all of this alongside other people who are also in the process of learning,
Mm-hmm.
and new information constantly coming in about COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot to handle. And then the
Yeah.
relational side with the families as well.
Mm-hmm. And the families, the big thing is families aren't allowed in hospitals anymore. So
Mm-hmm.
we filled phone calls, which can be kind of touchy. A lot of families are thankful, but it's hard to be like, look, no, there's no changes today. They're still doing the same that they were doing the day before. But
Mm-hmm.
we've been able to like set up FaceTime calls, which has been really, really nice for patients.
Yeah.
Especially if they're COVID positive and they're in isolation all day. We had a couple patients that were like long-termers. They were in the hospital for like at least, I want to say 1 to 2 months, just recovering from COVID. They were
Wow.
really sick. But
Yeah.
getting to set up FaceTime for them so that they could see their family every day was really encouraging for them.
Yeah. That's awesome. And you talked about how your faith has played a role, and how you're processing all of this as well, within your profession.
Mm-hmm.
So at the hospital, with your patients, and then just in general, as you are also going through this pandemic as just a person, like all of us right now, where have you seen God working or moving?
Um, I think the biggest place that I've seen God working, like outside of my personal relationship, has been just in the community in Rochester and my church community. My church has really stepped up to the plate, and it makes me really proud to be a member and very thankful that I chose the family and the place that I did to make my church home.
Mm-hmm.
But they've held food drives. They've been posting more on social media to reach out and offering resources. Every week they did the Good Neighbor initiative, where they were able to give money to people in the congregation to be a good neighbor for projects.
Yeah.
Um, and they also were able to move all their services online. So they have 3 services a week online. And then they also were able to work out with the local TV network to hold a
And
service and
do
broadcast it
you
on
do you
there.
make sure to attend all 3 services?
I attend whatever one I'm able to when I'm not working,
Yeah. No, just kidding. That would be
online.
like really good.
Yeah, no, it's the same thing every service, so they tape it.
Yeah.
But they've actually had quite a few newcomers into church through being online and stuff, and have people join small groups,
Yeah, that's
like the
awesome.
online social distance small groups through Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And just the amount of people that they've seen come to Christ. I think we've had like at least 100 new people come to Christ
Wow.
through COVID, which is really encouraging. And
Yeah.
then my community group, just the support I've had from them and the women in my group, back at the beginning when there was still a lot of uncertainty and we didn't know what was going on. I
Mm-hmm.
went through the stages of grief, and I was very sad for
Yeah.
just preparing for the amount of death I could potentially see and witness, and how that would emotionally impact me, but also impact everyone else. And just
Mm-hmm.
having that support of them and the prayer that they were able to cover me in. They asked me to text them every time I went to work, just so that they could be praying. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Actually, really praying for hope and really praying for encouragement for me. And
Yeah.
just to see how God shifted my attitude through all this, and learning how to find the hope and how
Mm-hmm.
to find the way I can make my patients comfortable during my shift, and how I can love them best. And
Yeah.
learning how to, even though it's like a situation that I can't physically change and I can't help through my healthcare, I can at least make them comfortable and love them during my shift, which
Yeah.
has been like one of the huge lessons God has taught me, and something that I hope to carry through. Um, through my nursing, even as we transition back to being a surgical unit and staff.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Mhm.
That's cool because I think, yeah, like usually it seems that we start to see more of how God is working around us when we make ourselves more available to Him, and
Mhm.
when we are humble enough to want Him to work in our own hearts and show us, areas that we can grow into or things that we need to submit to Him, or
Mhm.
just being present with Him.
Mhm.
And when you are seeking Him, you can see Him more around you and join in on that like you did.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. So along those lines, I think that's so awesome that you have such a great community at your church and that group of women who is praying for you. For us, those of us listening right now,
Mhm.
what are some specific ways that we can be praying for you as well, and just frontline workers in general right now during this time?
I would say specifically for me and all my coworkers and every other frontline worker, we're experiencing a very high rate of burnout. There's already a very high rate of burnout in healthcare and in nursing in general. It's like, I think the statistic is like 50% of new grads leave the bedside within 2 years of
Wow.
graduating nursing school. So you add a pandemic onto it, and you add working in conditions that you never interviewed or signed up for,
Mm-hmm.
and nursing onto it. We're very exhausted, frustrated, and we're also very sad because we've had to experience a lot of tough situations, a lot of sad deaths because family's not able to be there. We're the only ones there holding the hand, or we're having to call the code and we know they're not going to come out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And just a lot of that sorrow that a lot of my coworkers and I know every front care line worker has experienced. There's going to be a lot of psychological effects after
Mm-hmm.
this pandemic, and there's going to be a lot of just trying to come to terms with what we've seen and what we've had to deal with. So I
Yeah.
would just be praying for a lot of healing and a lot of comfort, that we would be able to look to God. If we don't know God, that we would find Him in
Mm-hmm.
this time, that there would be renewed strength, and that we would be able to come to peace,
Yeah.
the work that we've done, and knowing that um, we can't change it, but knowing that we did our best,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that we did what we could to play our part.
Yeah.
And just that whole kind of aspect of healing and comfort is something that, when I've been thinking about this question, has just really come to mind,
Mm-hmm.
because I've seen how a lot of my coworkers need it, and how
Mm-hmm.
they need that help. And the only way that we can help, if we're not physically there with them having the conversations, is through prayer.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That's really heavy stuff. And yeah, for those of us who are not frontline workers, which is a majority of us, then when we need to pray, and we need to remember the frontline workers in our prayers, and have endurance with that as well. Not just
mhm,
pray one time, but pray and reach out to workers that we know and encourage them
mhm.
as well. Um, and just kind of lastly, do you have any practical advice or encouragement that you would want people to know who are watching or listening right now?
I would just say, practical advice, I would say really just embrace this, the last bit of this time,
Mm-hmm.
that because the world's opening back up. We don't know how quickly or how fast, or if things will go back to normal or what. But I just encourage you to continue to embrace this time we have left, um, and that time that you have uninterrupted with God.
Mm-hmm.
I think the past couple weeks I've settled into a little routine of protecting my time off from work,
Yeah.
and really using that time to seek God, and to seek um, kind of peace, and seek a place outside of the world that we currently live in, and really seek that rest and that
Mm-hmm.
refreshment for my soul. And for me, that means going outside and getting in nature, which I can do now because it's sunny outside and it's warm.
Yeah.
But yeah, just really sitting and resting in God's presence, and being still and being silent in His presence, and allowing Him to renew you,
Mhm.
because we're going to be going back into the world. Our schedules are going to start filling back up and we're going to be getting busy again.
Yeah.
But I would continue to still prioritize that time, because once you get a taste of how truly good God's rest is for your soul and his presence is for your soul, you won't want to go back to the busyness.
Yeah.
You won't want to go back to the chaos. You'll want to continue to make time and seek that out. And so I would just encourage you to remember that and to seek
Yeah.
that out in these last couple weeks or months.
Yeah. Thank you. Those are wise words. And is there anything else that you just want to share with people that we didn't cover, I didn't ask about?
I think we got it all.
We hit it all.
Do you have any
We
other
covered
questions?
the whole thing.
We covered it.
Um, what is your favorite ice cream flavor and why?
Ooh, that's hard.
Too hard? Like, it's
Not
probably the
too
hardest
hard.
question that we've had this interview.
Not actually, because there's so many good ones out there. I would say
List them off, man.
dude, there's some really quality ones from the Creamery, since we're
Yeah, shout out to
State
Penn State.
alum. Got to
Yeah.
shout out our alma mater, the homeland. I I love their Chunky Monkey and their Almond Joy. Is it
Yeah.
Chunky Monkey? Is that the
Yeah, and
flavor?
then
Banana ice cream.
I think so, yeah. And then the Happy Happy Joy Joy
The
Almond
Happy
Joy.
Happy Joy Joy.
That
Yes.
is my favorite too. And I cannot have lactose anymore, but I went out with a bang in my last day. That's a poor choice of words. Oh man, my last day of lactose living was with Happy Happy Joy Joy.
It was so good.
Yeah.
I miss it. I'm going to have to make my way to the Creamery once it opens back up.
Yeah, please do. And I will watch you eat the lactose. Well, thank you so much for taking time to just share about your experience and how we can be praying for you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who's prayed and who will continue to pray for us. Your prayers do make a big difference. And thanks for all your supporting healthcare during this time and playing your part in quarantining.
Yeah. I will say you're welcome on behalf of the globe. All right, I'll see ya.
Bye.
Bye.